As the city fell silent toward midnight, the occasional sound of sirens pierced the quiet from afar. A cold wind blew scraps of newspaper through the empty streets, and the wet stones of the sidewalks reflected the flickering light of the street lamps. In this silence, a man dressed in a dark overcoat, half his face hidden in the shadow of his hat, walked slowly, his footsteps echoing. As he turned the corner and entered a narrow alley, an old apartment building came into view. In front of the door, a young woman in a red dress took a deep drag from her cigarette, slowly releasing the smoke into the air. "You're late," she said, her eyes betraying both reproach and anticipation. The man replied with a cold smile, "Timing is everything." As they entered together, the dimly lit corridor's walls bore the wear and tear of the years. A single bulb hanging from above swayed gently, casting shifting shadows. They climbed to the third floor, keeping their footsteps quiet, and stopped before a rusty door. The man knocked on the door, and a deep voice echoed from inside. "Who is it?" The woman said, "Those seeking answers," and the door slowly opened. Inside, there was an open file and scattered photographs on the table. All of them showed the same man, but in different places at different times. Among the photographs was an old letter, its corner burned, its ink smudged. The old man at the head of the table pressed his cigarette into the ashtray and spoke, "Is this for justice or for revenge?" The dim light half illuminated his face as his piercing eyes fixed on the two of them. The man did not answer, but simply took the last photograph from the file. A dark pier, a silhouette falling into the water under the moonlight. "This is it," he said in a low voice. The scene shifted to that pier, where the rain was falling lightly. The sound of footsteps on the wooden floor mingled with the waves crashing against the shore. The woman in the red dress stood behind him, her hands in her pockets, watching carefully. The man walked to the end of the pier and looked up at the sky. The full moon, emerging from between the clouds, cast shimmering reflections on the water. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, dressed in a black coat, with a cold expression on his face. "I knew you'd find me," he said, his voice blending with the wind's howl. The man slowly pulled a gun from his pocket, raised the barrel. But before pulling the trigger, these words slipped from his lips. This should have ended years ago. The woman lunged forward, shouting, "Stop!" Blood was spilled then, too. "There's another way now," but her voice trembled with uncertainty. Silence fell again, the waves crashing harder. The figure smiled and said, "Justice or revenge? You don't even know yourself," and suddenly the wind picked up. The man's eyes flashed, his lips moved, but he said nothing. He just pulled the trigger and let the sound fade into the night. The bullet's sound mingled with the cries of seagulls, and the figure stumbled backward and fell into the water. The woman ran to the edge but could only see the red reflection in the waves.